Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back for the team selection video for Game Week 21. So we hope everyone's having a good day. And yeah, we're gonna get into it because it's been a while again, as I said, since we've done a team selection. It feels like, and yeah, I'm looking forward to Game Week 21. It's a bit of a mad one with a lot of injuries, etc. But we're gonna get into it in a sec. How you doing, Jordan? How's your day going so far?
Yeah, it's good so far. It's very exciting, I think, team selection, because if you guys saw the thumbnail, there was a chip in play, but all to be revealed through the stream. But first, we'll just recap what happened in Game Week 20 from our teams.
Yeah, as always, we will quickly recap Game Week 20 because it was a mad game week. So let's start off with my team. In goal, I did have Areola, and surprisingly, he went and got a massive 11-pointer. Maybe didn't see this one coming, but yeah, he did play 90 minutes. Obviously, got the clean sheet in the 0-0 against Brighton. He also made 8 saves in that game, so got 2 points for that. And he also got the 3 bonus points as well. So Areola, lovely 11-pointer. And obviously, as you can see, Dubravka on the bench, who played just before. I was hoping actually Areola doesn't play, so I get Dubravka's 8-pointer off his bench. However, Areola did actually end up going outscoring Dubravka, which was lovely to see. In the defense, not really much to talk about there at all in terms of points. Porro blanked in the 3-1 win against Bournemouth. Gabriel lost 2-1 to Fulham. And then Trent also conceded 2 goals to Newcastle in the 4-2 win, which feels like such a long time ago now, 11 days ago. Moving into that midfield 4, I've got Saka, who did pick up a goal against Fulham in the loss for 2-1. 2-1 win, I should say, for Fulham. Son, however, carried on returning, and he did pick up a goal and the 2 bonus points before he went away to the Asia Cup against Bournemouth in the win there. Salah, however, unfortunately wasn't my captain. Massively regret not going Salah captain after his amazing performance against Newcastle on New Year's Day. So Salah did get 2 goals, assist. He also did miss a penalty, so he got -2 for that. And he also picked up the 3 bonus points. So a lovely 16-pointer for Salah. Unfortunately, though, he wasn't my captain. Palmer was the main man of this game week. As you guys know, he got that lovely 18-pointer after his heroics against Luton with the 2 goals, assist, and the 3 bonus points. So Palmer did come away with that 18-pointer, which was lovely. Up front, I did have Watkins, who did get 2 assists in the win against Burnley. Solanke did blank, unfortunately, in the loss against Spurs, in the 3-1 loss, I should say. He was quite unlucky, maybe should have had a goal. And then Alvarez, who was my captain, did get a goal as well and the 1 bonus point against Sheffield. So he comes away with a 14-pointer as well because he's my captain. On the bench, I did have a few points. Dubravka 8-pointer, and Gordon also had a 5-pointer as well. Other than that, nothing else. So all in all, it is 88 points for me for Game Week 20. So it was a big week in terms of points. Could have been a lot better. If I did go Salah captain, it would have been 100 points plus, it seems. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, but it's still a green arrow up to 370k as we move into Game Week 21. I am looking forward to Game Week 21 as well. And yeah, 88 points all out for Game Week 20. Jordan, if you could just do the same as well, please.
Yeah. So yeah, here's how my team went for Game Week 20. So here's a little recap. So we start off Areola. I had Areola 2 in goal, which worked out pretty well, 0-0 against West Ham, and I think that was Areola's 3rd consecutive clean sheet in a row now. 2 of them being double hauls, including this one where he got 11-pointer. So yeah, a lot of saves made by Areola, bonus points and clean sheet, which is pretty nice for us to get Areola points after we benched him for the previous double haul. Moving on to defense, so obviously Trent got 0 points in that 4-2 win over Newcastle. He also picked up a yellow card, so he ended up on 0. No clean sheet there for Trent. Pedro Porro, no clean sheet for him either. Tottenham did win the game, but Bournemouth did score a goal in that game, so the clean sheet was wiped for Porro late on in that fixture. Pretty much the same for Brantford as well. His clean sheet was wiped after that massive defeat against Wolves, 3-0. So those goals conceded obviously took a point off of him, which led him to only finish on 1 point. Moving on to the midfield, and this gets a bit more goal spree in terms of points. We've got Foden, who ends up getting a 12-pointer for the 2 assists, the clean sheet, and the bonus 3 on top of that. So that transfer paid off massively to bring Foden in. And yeah, it paid off good with 12 points. Nice double for Phil Foden, a popular pick moving forward, I think, in terms of Man City assets. Moving on to Salah now. He was the captain that I did go for in that Newcastle game that Liverpool had, and it did pay off. I was just ashamed that he did miss the penalty. Otherwise, apart from that, I'll take his 32 points with the captaincy over him. But yeah, massive performance before. Obviously, Salah moved on to AFCON, so he left on the high from getting that assist, scoring the 2 goals, and getting the bonus 3. Moving on to Saka now. Now, this is an interesting player who's been pretty quiet in the radar in terms of returns, but he did score, even though Arsenal did lose. He scored the only goal in that 2-1 loss to Fulham, so that does leave a bit of questions what we do with Saka now after he did score that goal. And last in the midfield, we've got Hwang, who does end up with a nice little pointer, 6-pointer for getting the assists from one of the Wolves' goals and a clean sheet as well on top of that. So he leaves on a nice little return before he goes to the Asia Cup. So that was nice of him to return me 6 points. And finally, move on to the front 3. Wissa, he indeed blanked. Again, even though Brentford did score, he wasn't a part of the action. So he ends up at only 2 points. And obviously, he does go to AFCON as well. Alvarez, he did score the goal and got the bonus 1 point as well in that 2-0 win over Sheffield. So again, Alvarez, in the absence of Haaland, is doing really well. And finally, Watkins on his 8 points gets 2 assists, like we mentioned, in that 3-2 win over Burnley. And just briefly on the bench, there isn't really much to talk about because Trippier, he didn't play. Simicast is injured and Decore was injured too. So it only leaves Leno with 1 point. Yeah, he did pick up a yellow card as well, but no clean sheet for him as Arsenal did score. So overall, it's a high scoring game week, 88 points as well. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this game week being so high scoring and a nice green arrow of 235k. So it was I can't really remember what my old rank was, but I'll take a 235k green arrow for the way the week went for Game Week 20.
Okay, lovely. So both of us got green arrows in Game Week 20. Can we keep it up with another green in Game Week 21? Let's look at our bus teams and discuss what the plans are in terms of transfers as well. So this is my team currently on the screen, and it's looking like Jordan's team from a couple of weeks ago when I had flags everywhere. So I do have 4 flags currently in the team. So I will talk, what my plans are, what I am thinking about currently. So let's start off with a goalkeeper. I am going to play Areola, who's got Sheffield away. I think that's an easy one to play over Dubravka. Obviously, Dubravka's got a tougher game against Man City. So Areola against Sheffield looks like a decent fixture. And hopefully he can carry on getting a clean sheet after his impressive clean sheet against Man United and Arsenal. Moving into the back 3, I am going to play Pedro Porro, who's got Man United away. I think that's a decent fixture for Tottenham. Maybe not a clean sheet, but we know with Porro, he is very good at getting attacking returns, and that's what I'll be hoping for from him again against Man United. I have decided to play Trippier. Now, as you guys know from the bench, Trent Alexander-Arnold did pick up an injury against Arsenal in the FA Cup 4th round, wasn't it? And Trent is now injured for 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm forced to play Trippier, who's got Man City at home. Not really excited about playing Trippier because I think he'll concede and he probably will blank, but I've got no other choice but to play Trippier. And to complete the back line, I've got Gabriel, who's got Crystal Palace at home. Again, Arsenal have been suffering recently in form. They've been also conceding a couple of soft goals. However, it is a home game for Arsenal, and you'd expect them to bounce back after their disappointing last couple of games in the league. In the midfield 4, I am playing Gordon. Again, not ideal against Man City at home. I'm not expecting much from Newcastle here. I'm hoping the rest they've had over the last, couple of days means they are a bit more stronger. They are at home, so we know Newcastle are a lot better at home than they are from away. So I'm hoping and maybe praying that Gordon can get something against Man City because I'm not expecting much from him, but we'll have to see what happens. I've got Saka, who's got Crystal Palace at home. Again, I think that's a decent fixture for Arsenal, even though they've been struggling. I've not been massively impressed by Saka, as you guys know. However, it might come as a surprise. I have gone Saka captain as it stands. So we'll have to see what I decide to do in the deadline stream. But as of now, I think I'm going to go Saka captain because I look at my team. And in terms of the fixtures, I think Saka might have the best fixture. I know Palmer also has a good fixture against Fulham at home, but I still don't 100% trust Chelsea as a team because you don't know what you're going to get from Chelsea, in my opinion. Still, they can win 3-0 against Fulham or they can lose 2-0 against Fulham. So I don't really know what I'm going to get. And I was quite impressed with Fulham, the way they played against Liverpool. So I'm not quite sure what to expect from Chelsea. But I know Palmer's been a great pick. I've had a Palmer from game week 8 or game week 10, and he's been really good for me. But I'm siding towards Saka right now because I just think he's a consistent returner, even though he might just get one assist. And that's still a return that I can bank on. So yeah, Saka's captain for now. Son, as you guys know, he's gone to the Asia Cup, so he has to be taken out of the team. Palmer, again, another popular choice will be for captaincy. I think Saka and Palmer are the two that people are looking at. Again, I think Palmer is a good option. I just don't trust Chelsea as a team. I don't know what I'm going to get from them still, whether they're going to win or they can easily lose. So that what makes me siding towards Saka, but we'll have to see. Palmer is still a good pick, and we know he's been really good, obviously getting that 18-pointer as well against Luton in game week 20. And finally, to complete the up front, I've got Watkins, who's got Everton away. Again, happy to hold Watkins. He's been pretty reliable returner for me this season, and there's no way I'm going to be selling him before he's got Everton. Solanke has Liverpool. Again, I think this is a tough fixture for Bournemouth. I don't actually expect too many points here from Solanke, but he's on form, and I'm just going to play him and see what he can get. Anything he gets is a bonus because I have had a lot of hauls from Solanke in the previous week. So anything I get, I'll take. And moving forward, he's got some decent fixtures coming up as well. And finally, to complete the attack, I've got Julian Alvarez in there as well, who's got Newcastle away. And from the rumours, it seems like Haaland will still not be back for that fixture against Newcastle. So if Haaland's still out, then Alvarez is going to start up front. And, without Haaland, Alvarez is going to get more of the chances. So I'm happy to hold Alvarez for another week until Haaland is back. He is my placeholder until Haaland comes back. And, as soon as Haaland's back, Alvarez is going straight out of the team. And on the bench, a lot of flags. So Dubravka, I'm going to bench him. He's got Man City at home. We know Trent's injured up to 3 weeks after he injured his knee, I believe, which is disappointing as obviously he was on great form. I think form of his life, really, playing brilliantly. Salah's gone to AFCON, as we know, and he's going to be a big miss for Liverpool as well. So that's two of Liverpool's best players actually out for a while, which, we'll have to see how Liverpool cope with that, with Salah and Trent, that right-hand side being decimated, really. And then Taylor as well on the bench, who's got Luton at home. I believe he's flagged as well. He's injured. So, unfortunately, I can't play Taylor either. So, at the moment, I only have 10 playing players, I should say, if you don't count Son, obviously. So, I'm in a decent spot. So, I've got 0.2 million in the bank, and I have 2 free transfers as well. So, there is a lot of ways I can do this. So, obviously, the main one I've got to take out is Son. I think that's the obvious one. I think Salah and Trent, I will leave Salah and Trent for now. The plan is to keep Trent until he's back from injury, right? And then I'll just play him back in 2-3 weeks' time. Hopefully, it's not too serious. Salah, I probably will sell him when I want Haaland, because if I want Haaland back, I'm going to have to let go and sacrifice Salah probably. So right now, the plan is for Game Week 21, sell Son, and then that will allow me to bring in Phil Foden. So Phil Foden is the guy I'm looking at bringing in. He did have a really good game in the last one. As you guys know, he got that 12-pointer with the 2 assists against Sheffield. And I'm thinking of bringing him in because he's got Newcastle away. It's not the easiest fixture, but we know Phil Foden has stepped up for Man City this season, especially in KDB's absence. I think Phil Foden has kind of had a really good season so far. When I watch Man City, he's one of the key players now in that midfield, especially with KDB being out. And we're still not sure if KDB is going to start against Newcastle. And if that's the case, then that makes Foden an even better option. So I think Foden is on form. He's one of the better Man City assets I want to go for, especially with no Haaland. And I think that's the move I'm going to make, guys, and just the one move, and saving my second free transfer. So Son for Foden, and then roll the second free transfer. And then the plan would be in game 22 to take out Alvarez for Haaland. And the way I'll fund that is by downgrading Salah to another cheap midfielder. So as of now, I am thinking just doing the one move and rolling the second transfer. And that will leave me with 1.7 million in the bank as well. So let me know what you guys think of the team. Foden coming in. Saka captain. I'll probably put the vice on Palmer if I'm being honest, instead of Watkins. But yeah, that's what the team's looking like. I'm not too confident because when you look at the team, the fixtures aren't great. You know what? Solanke has Liverpool, Alvarez has Newcastle, as well as Foden, Man City for Gordon, and then I've got Trippier who's got Man City as well. So I'm not so sure about the team, but I definitely want to roll the second transfer, I think, because I want to save it for Haaland because I can bring Haaland in for free next week when a lot of people could be potentially taking hits, etc., to bring him in. So that's the plan.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You're holding on to Trippier. Then a lot of us have obviously sold him from last game week, and so yeah, is the plan to hold on to Trippier now for long term?
Yeah, so the plan would have actually been to get rid of Trippier, but because Trent's gone and got that injury, it's kind of changed things for me now. And because, as I said, if I had a luxury of 3 transfers, I would have probably took Trippier out for someone like an Estupinian or someone like that. But because I need to save that transfer to have 2 for Haaland for next week, because I can bring Haaland back in for free with 2 free transfers as long as I keep rolling that second one, rather than using both my free transfers and then having to potentially take a hit for Haaland, which I don't really want to do. So as of now, I think that's the way I'm going to go. But the other thing I could do is downgrade Salah to a Garnacho or someone like that, someone really cheap, and then play Garnacho this week. But Garnacho has Tottenham, so that's not the greatest fixture anyway. So I think I'm going to go with the 3-4-3 and then pray Trippier can get me an attack and return. So yeah, that's what it looks like, guys, for game week 21. But let's move on to your team because your situation is more interesting as you're on a wild card, aren't you?
Yes. Well, as you can see, guys, there's a lot of flags on the team. So Trent is the newest addition of flags, but let's just go through the team. So we've got Areola, who's got Sheffield United away, which is a nice fixture after his clean sheet and massive double haul from last game week. So he's definitely being played over Leno, who has Chelsea away. I think between the two, I think I see a clean sheet coming more from Areola. So let's move on to defence. So Trent, as we know, is obviously injured and won't be playing against Bournemouth away, so he is currently flagged. Trippier's got Man City at home. Not really confident or neither impressed by Trippier's last performances. So yeah, that's definitely one that I'm not really looking forward to. Pedro Porro, Man United away. Even though Man United have been pretty poor in some or most of their games, they do sometimes find a way to score. So I think I can see a no clean sheet for Spurs, and obviously their clean sheets are not always promising, especially when any time they can concede a goal. But hopefully there's an attacker return from Pedro Porro. Brantford, he's got Aston Villa at home. So again, I'm not really enticed by a clean sheet there, even though Everton have been pretty good at home. Aston Villa at the same time have been pretty good in terms of attacking, and where their position is at the moment. I don't think they can hold off against Aston Villa, but obviously we have to wait and see if that game should be a good one. But moving on to the midfield, so Salah and Hwang, they're both an Asian AFCON Cup, so they won't be playing against their fixtures, which only leaves Saka. He's got Crystal Palace at home. He's got currently the Vice, and Foden's got Newcastle away as the 2 fixtures in the midfield. So only 2 playing midfielders currently in the midfield. Moving on to the front 2, and we've got Watkins. He's got Everton away. Interesting fixture. Obviously, he plays against Brantford, so that's a clash right there between the 2. So yeah, it doesn't really help. And obviously Alvarez, he's got Newcastle away, who clashes with Trippier. So there's 2 clashes there between 4 players, which isn't ideal, especially with the 3 flags I currently have in the starting 11, which has turned my starting 11 into a starting 8, as that's where the bench comes on. There's no bench options. Tsimikas is out injured. Wissa has gone to AFCON along with Decore if he is fit, because he has hamstring. So I don't know if he's gone to AFCON or not. And that just leaves Leno, the playing goalkeeper, who's got Chelsea away. So before I go into this, obviously into what I'm deciding to do, because obviously you guys mostly know what I'm going to do, but let me know in the comments, is this team worth a wild card, or shall I take hits to get out of this? I just want to know your opinions on it, because I know there's been a lot of people in the chat saying don't wildcard now, try and take some hits and get your way out of it. But the state the team's in at the moment, I'd just like to get your comments and see what you think best way is forward for my team. But without further ado, we move on. So I've got 0.3 million in the bank with 1 free transfer. So the plan currently is I've activated my wildcard chip. And this is the team I've come up with for Gameweek 21 on the wildcard. So as it remains, Ariola's got Sheffield United away, so that doesn't change. Especially, and also for my second goalkeeper, Leno, that's still the same. But for the back three, I now have Estupinian, who has Wolves at home. I've wanted to bring him in from the very moment he came back for being injured, and he's had returns ever since he's come back from the 2 games he has played, scoring a goal and also getting a clean sheet after that, which is Brian's first clean sheet of the season. So I'm more than happy to bring him in, especially at 4.9 million as well. He is expected to rise in price, and that won't be the only price rise I think Estupinian has. So I want to get him in cheap while he is still cheap. And yeah, he has a nice fixture against Wolves at home, which I'm happy to play him for. Next, we've got Gabriel, who's a new addition to the defense. So obviously, because of Trent being injured, that has maybe changed my ideas on who else to go for in terms of a defender. So I have decided to go for an Arsenal defender. I think with Gabriel, he does have attacking threat, especially on aerial set pieces. So when Arsenal get a corner or a free kick, Gabriel's always in that position where he could potentially score from headers, and he is dangerous in that sort of sense, as well as Arsenal keeping clean sheets as well. You never know where they can get a clean sheet here and there. I think Crystal Palace at home now is a good fixture where they could nip one. But if Gabriel does get an attack and return on top of that, it's also a bonus, I think, as well for him, especially as a position for a defender. And next we've got Pedro Porro, who obviously he remains in the team as my third defender who's got Man United away. Now the reason why I've kept Pedro Porro is not just for the clean sheets, but again, he is the player that can get attack and returns as we've seen previously. He can get assists here and there, or maybe get the odd goal or 2 as well. But he does get the goal chances in his fixtures. And Man United away is not such a bad one, because the way Man United are playing as well, even though they're not playing up to the highest standards like we normally see them, that does leave Spurs with a little bit more attack. So we have to wait and see. That should be a good game for Spurs and Man United. But moving on to the midfield, so the midfield's had a complete overhaul. So first we got Gross. He's got Wolves at home, so he's my second Brighton asset to go for. And yeah, I'm pretty delighted to bring Gross in. I think he's a nice differential. He's got Wolves at home. He's had quite a few attacking returns as well in the midfield. And in the absence of return, we're going to the Asia Cup as well. I think that does provide more attacking threat from Gross. He'll play more forward than where he usually does play. And yeah, I'm happy to obviously play him against the fixture. And hopefully Estupinian and Gross do work well together. Moving on to the next player, and that is Palmer. And yeah, I've wanted Palmer for quite a while. I've missed out on so many of his points. And finally, I am able to bring him into my team. He's got Fulham at home. He is my captain pick. And I think he will be a popular pick for captaincy in this game week. Just to compare the other fixtures that other players have, I think Palmer has one of the exceptional ones where you might see him get a return, and the fact he's on penalties as well. If Chelsea do get a penalty, he's a penalty taker too. So I'm quite happy, I think, and confident to put Palmer as my captain pick for this week. Next player we got is Saka, and this is an interesting one because I wasn't giving Saka much of a good feedback, obviously from previous games, but after scoring, that hasn't really changed my thoughts on Saka. But I was going to bring in Bowen, but unfortunately he did get injured. So without having the option of Bowen to swap with Saka, I think I'm just going to stick with Saka and see what he can do against Crystal Palace at home. I mean, he's had a lot of returns this season so far, but it's just his consistency hasn't been quite there as we saw last season with Arsenal. So I think there isn't really another option I've looked for. There's still time though to change whether I want to keep Saka or not. But for now, he is still in my team, and he does have Crystal Palace at home. So we have to wait and see on the deadline stream whether I keep Saka or not. The next player is Richarlison, who's got Man United away. Now, I'm very surprised that Richarlison's ownership hasn't really climbed that much. It's still, I think, just below 9% ownership. which I'm very surprised at, especially when Son's gone to Asia Cup now and Richarlison's pretty much the main man up front for Spurs. And yeah, I'm
They
just
have
surprised.
signed Timo Werner. If there is a potential, could he take minutes off Richarlison? I've seen people talk about Timo Werner obviously signing on loan at Spurs as well. Do you think that will make some slight difference potentially?
Maybe, but I don't see Timo Werner playing that many minutes straight away from Spurs. I think he'll maybe play 20 or 15, seeing how it goes. Obviously, the game, but I do see Richarlison playing the majority of the minutes, and normally Spurs do score in early in their fixtures. But yeah, that could be a thing where he does share minutes with obviously Werner, but I think Richarlison played majority of minutes for Spurs, especially with the form. He's back on form now, and I don't think the manager will want to disrupt that if he was to be obviously being taken out or substituted off for Werner to play in front of him. But it is an interesting fixture, Man United away, so it's a big game for both teams. So we have to see what Charleston can do in the absence of Son. And finally, we've got our last midfielder, and that is Foden. So he's another player I've kept in my team as well. He's got Newcastle away. I think despite Newcastle being a home fixture, I still think it gives a lot of chance for Foden, especially with Haaland not coming back into the team either, to get some attacking threat in terms of goals or assists as well. So he's another player that I've kept into my team. I think even for the fixture, even though it doesn't look great, it seems like a tough one. I'm not very keen on Newcastle's defence at the moment, especially with Trippier's confidence being rocked a bit and the injuries surrounding Newcastle in general as well. So yeah, I'm quite like to keep Foden and see what he can do in Newcastle away. And yeah, I'm quite happy to keep him as the Man City asset in the midfield. There's not really other Man City midfielders I'd look at other than Foden, who's quite overlooked by the rest of them. And moving on to the front two. So the front two have remained the same as well. Watkins and Alvarez are the front two forwards that I've gone with. Watkins has Everton away. I think it's going to be a tough game for Aston Villa to get past Everton. We know how strong they are at home, and they've shown that Everton as well against teams. So yeah, it's going to be hard to break down. I think Aston Villa, hard to break down Everton, but I think Aston Villa can get the job done. But it all depends whether Watkins can get a return or not, but I'm sure he can. And finally, we've got Alvarez, who is the second Man City asset who's got Newcastle away, and all the more reason to keep Alvarez in the team now, as due to Haaland potentially not playing in Gameweek 21, that just provides Alvarez again playing 90 minutes and being the main man up front for Man City, which provides him with more options than what he would normally get if Haaland was playing alongside of him. So yeah, I'm happy to play Alvarez. He could be a potential captaincy as well for some of you looking at that in the absence of Haaland not being there. So yeah, Alvarez Newcastle away should be a good fixture for him as well. And moving on to the bench, so yeah, Leno stays the same. He's got Chelsea away. Decided to bring on Wood as a cheap forward. I think that's just to save up money as well, but he also is a playing asset in the absence of obviously Awani, who's out injured currently. He's not back till late February, so that does give me an option to have Wood for the time being. He's got Brentford away, so that could be a nice fixture as well for Nottingham Forest, especially under new management. Obviously, Branthwaite is on the bench because he's got Aston Villa at home. I'm not going to play Branthwaite when he's got Watkins as well. So I do expect Watkins to get something from that game and Everton to not keep a clean sheet. And I've got Bell, who's got Burnley away. Again, he's another cheap bench option who is a playing player, 3.9 million. So he's very nice and cheap and affordable. Yeah, that's pretty much the wildcard team as it stands so far. Now, there has been some deliberation whether I go for Pascal Gross or João Pedro. I'm still deciding which one to go for. Let me know in the comments, guys. Do you prefer Gross or João Pedro as an option? Because I'm still deciding whether I want to play Gross or João Pedro. If I do play Pedro, I'll play 3 up front, obviously, and 4 in the midfield. So I'd have to lose Gross and then play João Pedro instead. But that's still in decision making up to the deadline stream. But with this wildcard team, it does leave me with 12.2 million in the bank and with a 3-5-2 formation. So The reason being why there's so much money in the bank is obviously it leaves a lot of money to bring in Haaland when he's eventually back into the team as well, because I'll be swapping out Alvarez for Haaland when he's back fit. So yeah, that is pretty much my team selection for the wildcard.
Okay, lovely. So obviously Jordan's on wildcard. So drop your thoughts below, guys. Let us know what you think of his wildcard team. Let's take a few comments. We've got Ahmed here. Who to captain, Palmer or Saka? I mean, we've both sort of answered this question. Jordan's on Palmer, and he's obviously giving you reasons why. I'm on Saka, and I've said my reasons why. I think Arsenal might be a bit more, I don't know, reliable as a team, but Palmer has done well as well. So it is a tough one, and it will come down to a 50-50 call, I think. Dan says, evening, guys. My team is a mess. We've got Roman as well in the chat who says, hi, lads.
Hey, Roman.
Team's a mess with Bowen and Trent out. Glad to hear it. Not long term, so that's good. Yeah, I'm hoping Trent isn't long term as a Liverpool fan, but you never know with Liverpool and their injuries. It seems like one player gets injured and then they take a lot longer to come back than we were initially told. Christian just shouting out his FPL League, so do join that, guys, if you can. And hope you're well as well, Christian. Salah, Bowen, and Trent benched. Walker, Porro, Estupinian, Gusto, Saka, Gordon, Palmer, João Pedro, Darwin, Watkins. Thoughts? Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, I like the front three: João Pedro, Darwin, and Watkins. It's pretty different. Darwin and Pedro are low owned as well, so not many people have them in their teams. So that, yeah, I like the up front for you, Christian.
Michael also says Jota or Richarlison. Now, this is an interesting one, obviously, because Jota is now back from injury, and we expect Jota to play a much bigger part of Liverpool's attack now, because obviously Salah's gone to AFCON. Jota did play. He started last night in Liverpool's win over Fulham. I think Jota is a very interesting option. I'm just taking a look at his ownership because I don't think he'll be highly owned at all, because he's just come back from injury. Let's have a look at what is. So Jota's ownership is only 3.9%, and he did get 2 assists against Newcastle. And I definitely think he's a definite option, guys, going forward, especially a differential. He's a midfielder as well, so he takes up a midfielder slot. But yeah, I definitely like Jota as a pick, as a differential. I would be tempted potentially to bring him into my own team. So definitely one to watch in the coming weeks. We've gave our thoughts on Werner. I think Werner could be an interesting option, definitely, depending on how Spurs play. I think it's one to watch what Postecoglou does. And Werner will get minutes. I think that he definitely will, especially with Son being at Asia Cup now. They could play Werner together with Richarlison, and that could be interesting as well, because Werner can also play on the left-hand side where Son's been playing. So it's going to be interesting to see what his role is. But yeah, I definitely like it as a 6.5 million cheap option. Are you tempted by Tony, Jordan? Obviously, you're on a wild card, so you could actually do something like this. Tony's back, I believe, and he's got a decent fixture as well against who do Brentford have again? Against Forest.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen obviously Tony will be fresh and back, especially in Mbeumo still being out injured as well. Does give Tony a lot of chances to score for Brentford. And I haven't really given it much thought, but now that you mention it, it could be one to think about before the deadline stream. How it would be hard to include him in the team though, because I would have to take out a midfielder. But it most likely would be Gross who I'd take out the midfield. So yeah, that is one to think about. I'm not sure whether I'll bring Tony in or not. I have to wait and see, I think.
Tom says start Gordon or take a -4 for Salah to Gross. I'll definitely play Gordon, in my opinion, rather than take the -4. Roman just says your wild card looks solid, but he's not a fan of Gross and Wood, but he thinks it's a solid team. Animation says maybe you can downgrade Mubama to save even more money.
Yeah.
We've got SJ in the chat. Hope you're well, mate. We've got Roman who says I think Garnacho and Pedro over Gross and Wood in regards to your team as well. So there are options there.
Yeah, a few Pedro shouts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not massively keen on Pedro. I just think that guy's a massive rotation risk. I know Mitoma's gone now to the Asia Cup, but I still feel like he's a bit of a rotation risk in certain games where he comes on, plays like 40, 50 minutes. which would worry me slightly. But he's on penalties, as we know, so that's another bonus about João Pedro. But yeah, I think that is it from us in terms of our team selection. You know, you're on Wildcard. I plan to just do the one move roll, the second transfer. So yeah, I think we probably will wrap it up here. And just to let you guys know, guys, it is a Friday deadline, isn't it? So don't forget, make sure you do your teams. The deadline is tomorrow, and that is at 6:15 UK time. So we're probably going to stream at 5:15, 5:15 UK time tomorrow for the deadline stream. So make sure you do tune in for that deadline stream. It should be a really good one. It's going to be action packed for sure. Obviously, I'm making a transfer. Jordan's on Wildcard. It's definitely going to be a lot to talk about. Even captaincy split between Saka and Palmer potentially, where we could go different. Or, I could go Palmer last minute. We'll see what we decide. And Jordan could even make last minute changes as well. So definitely do tune in for that deadline stream tomorrow. Should be a really good one. If do you want to add anything, Jordan, to that or?
Yeah, just obviously thank you guys for watching the stream, but especially tune in for the deadline stream. It's going to be full of excitement in the last hour, what we decide to do captaincy, whether I stay with this wildcard selection or not, and who I change out. Tune in for all of that. But until then, take care and enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you Friday.
Also, before you guys do go, make sure you hit that like button, guys. It really helps the channel out massively. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're watching as well, and see you tomorrow.